Greetings, grinders. This is Duckie Succumbs, aka Sean Hugas, and we're back for another episode of One-on-One with Duckie. This is number 6 in a series of how many we go, who knows, but so far it's been real fun. And we have a special guest today from dailyroto.com. We have Drew Dinkmeyer. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Duckie.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. This is the first one I've done though where I don't see the face of the person, so this is gonna be a little weird for me. So I know it's an audio podcast, but we do it on video. We do it on Google Hangout, so usually I see the face. So I'll just get used to not seeing somebody on the other side. So, but that's okay. We'll make it work. It's fun. As I said, Drew is the you are. What's your position technically at dailyroto.com? You're the owner of Daily Roto, or is it?
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of dailyroto.com, along with Mike Leone and Adam Hummel, and then the guys at Roto Experts, Anthem Media, have an ownership interest as well. And we're doing a lot of the same things that Roto Grinders is doing, a little bit on a smaller scale from a community perspective, but trying to help those who can't dedicate all the time and research to their normal day, and trying to strike up a community and have fun talking about DFS.
And it's a fun topic to talk about. I know we never do one here, but occasionally we do. So, but what got you into the position you're in right now? What made you decide I want to do this for a living?
Well, I never really knew what I was going to do when I was in school, and I had a psych degree, so I wasn't intending on using that for very much. I wasn't really going to go to grad school or anything like that. And the one thing that I always knew that I loved was fantasy sports. I'd played fantasy sports since I was a kid, and I was trying to find a way to make it a career. So when I got out of school, I applied to write for some season-long sites and got some low-paying gigs writing for season-long sites on the side. I was working in finance throughout the whole time, but I really wanted to figure out a way to make it a career, and kind of stumbled upon daily fantasy while giving out seasonal advice. Started to play, really started to enjoy it, and then saw that there was an opportunity that there just wasn't a lot of content out there at the time. So partnered with Mike Leone and started running a content business, and eventually it got to the point where, hey, we're spending so much time on this, maybe we can spend enough time to make it a full-time gig, and I can create the kind of lifestyle that I want to have for myself and not have to necessarily grind out a 9-to-5 every day in a field that I liked, but I wasn't nearly as passionate about as DFS.
When you were in finance, how was the market doing at that point in your time? Was it in a boom or was it in a bust? What?
Yeah, so I worked in finance from 2005 to 2013, so I kind of saw everything in that period of time. I remember very clearly right before kind of the bubble burst, I was doing meetings up in New York, and we met with, I think it was Lehman Brothers, and I remember going into this meeting and walking out and just feeling so like unprepared for what I experienced there. Like, I went to this meeting and they had like a chef at the meeting making lunch, and it was the peak of kind of excess. And I walked out of that meeting thinking, I don't understand what, like, we're nobodies and we're doing this meeting for research. We don't even have any investments with them yet, and they've got this personal chef there making lunch. Like, how are these firms making this much money? Doesn't make sense to me. And then the market crashed. So that was kind of a fun experience in finance.
Did that incentivize you immediately? Like, I have to get out of this and I have to do something else, or was it just a situation where you were always thinking this way, and it just happened the opportunity came up?
Yeah, I was always interested in finding a way to create a lifestyle that I could live from home. One of my big goals, I've just always wanted to be a dad, and I wanted to be able to be very involved in my kids' lives if I'm ever lucky enough to have them. And so I wanted to try to get on a path where I could create that lifestyle. And so it wasn't necessarily the market tumble, or it ended up recovering by the time I was still working in finance. It was just the opportunity eventually presented itself with DFS.
Great. Well, it worked out. It obviously worked out for you. I mean, things have been going well, to say the least. So let's go into your biggest success. And I know everybody's asked you the whole story. You've been on the DraftKings commercials when they were running 700 times a day, showing your reaction and things like that. But it turned out the biggest choice you made that day when you won $1 million in week 15 of the fantasy football season, if I recall, was that you played a player on your favorite team. You played Marquise Wilson in that situation. And he scored the touchdown that put you over the top. How much of that choice of Wilson was analysis, and how much of it was the Bears are my favorite team and I'd love to go with a guy on my team?
Yeah, it's nice when the two sort of collide together, and that's really what happened there. Wilson was min-priced, and Brandon Marshall had gotten hurt, so Wilson was going to start, and the Saints secondary wasn't very good, and the Bears projected to likely throw the ball a lot with Jay Cutler in that offense that year. So it's, for me, sometimes I'll use it as a tiebreaker. That week it didn't happen to be that way, just because there weren't a lot of other min-priced options, so I just had a ton of exposure to him. But sometimes I'll use it as a tiebreaker with a player that, even if it's not my home team, just a player that I prefer or that I've had better experiences with as a DFS player. So there is some sentimentality that goes in at times, but usually only as a tiebreaker.
So it's how often do you think you go the sentimental route when you're doing one?
I would say maybe once every 2 weeks. There's a situation that presents itself that gives me an opportunity to choose one way or the other.
Has any of your hometown players or your favorite players broken your heart really hard and made it tough for you to pull the trigger again?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. Yeah. I've had Derrick Rose. Obviously, the injury issues were tough for a while to be able to swallow the price tag and feel like he's going to be able to get through a game. So that's definitely been the case. I didn't, fortunately the Cubs are really good now, so I don't have to worry about that as much. I'm getting more excuses to take Cubs players now. Cutler definitely makes me think twice every time he's a value play and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know. He's definitely given me some trials and tribulations.
Yeah, I've had it easy. I'm a Seahawks fan, so Russell Wilson. I really feel bad about playing Russell Wilson.
Exactly.
In those situations. It's like, even if he has a bad game, it's still, it's like, it's Russell. I can't do that. Yeah.
I mean, when Jay has a bad game, it's also just catastrophically bad. It's not like, oh, I can overcome this with some other players. It's like he's thrown 3 picks in the end zone, and each time it's not even the scoring. It's like the dragging your heart through the mud. Like, okay, we're driving here, and then pick in the end zone, or okay, we need one more drive to win the game, pick 6. It's like, it's heart-wrenching and detrimental to your bank account.
Oh, indeed. I can't deny that. Yeah. I've had a few of those guys do that to me too. I won't go into details this show. This is about you, not me. So I'm just going to back up. But, let's see. You also have an active presence on social media.
Yes.
I would say. Would you? Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way too, so I understand. It's it seems every once in a while you have some certain people that I wouldn't say there's arguments, but you have a playful banter with. Who are some of the people you most enjoy getting it on in social media with?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great crowd within DFS. Unfortunately, I've been able to meet a lot of these people. One of the challenges is if you haven't met someone in real life, it's hard to be a little bit playful with banter because you can't maybe interpret tone on social media or through the internet quite as well. So sometimes, and I feel bad about this, but sometimes people will kind of hop in and I don't know where their tone is because I haven't met them personally. So I don't know if they're trying to egg me on or if they're trying to be playful and genuine. So I always feel bad about that. But generally I like to mix it up with Draft Cheat. He's one of my favorites. I like mixing it up with Davis Maddock. I would say Empire Maker, Smiz, most of the people that I've had the pleasure of meeting with and interacting with, whether it's at live finals or different DFS events in the past, I love interacting with online.
Out of all those people, who would be the least or the most likely in credit card roulette to try to back out of it?
Out of all those people, Davis Maddock for sure. Davis has bought out of credit card roulette at different times. When he's down to the final 2 or 3, he's bought out of credit card roulette. So he's definitely
a bargain deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's called for a chop on the deal. Oh, that's horrible.
Exactly. Which
I
is
just
unheard of.
Do it. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know Davis that well, but I mean, from just the online persona, let's go with that. I'm sure Davis is a good guy. I'm not
Yeah,
suggesting
well,
that.
I mean, it's also, it's kid just out of college versus,
Oh, well,
a lot of other
yeah.
people who are probably a little bit more established financially than he is. So, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
it's part persona, part situation, but I've definitely seen him try to buy out of credit card roulette before, which is really unheard of. I'd never seen anyone else try that before.
Yeah, I've never heard of a chop on credit card roulette. I mean, it's smart. I won't deny that. If you can put a third of the wheel instead of, I mean, once you get down to 1 out of 3, it's not the worst angle to take, I guess. But it's understandable to say the least. How do you think social media, has it gotten better in time, or has it gotten worse? I mean, I get a few trolls myself, and I would put myself in the category of minor celebrity in this equation, but even I get random trolls. How do you think the level of decorum, let's say, on social media has been as of late? Has it gotten better or worse?
Yeah, I think it goes through periods, and I tend to just try to ignore stuff, and I come from a background of wanting to be really positive. My dad is a huge influence in my life, and he's just one of the most positive people I've ever been around. So I really try to interact with it for fun and to get to know people, and so as you get more followers, you're naturally going to interact with more people that probably don't have those same goals or the same ideals. So it's a challenge. I would say, in the peak of kind of the DFS challenges in October and late last year, it was a lot less fun, but it's definitely picked back up of late, and it's gotten more kind of back to normal. And there's enough people that I can just ignore if I need to, or mute, which is great, because when you mute them, they don't realize that you've blocked them. Because some seem to be very interested in being blocked. Like, that seems to be some sort of claim to fame that they really enjoy.
That is true.
So that's my favorite. I really enjoy muting them, and then they don't know. Then they keep kind of pressing on for the block, but they don't know that you're not even seeing them.
I have a particular troll. I'm not going to name their name, of course, but who seems to have multiple profiles, and it's kind of a Sybil kind of situation.
Yeah.
Where each profiles has a different. I don't know how I figured out they were the same person, but they just seem to have different personas for each personality, and I just go, oh well, if it comes from this one, he's okay, but if it comes from this one, I'm going to get torched in about 3 minutes. I just think so.
It's very strange. It's very strange that some people will choose to dedicate a very significant portion of their life to creating lots of different accounts and all these different things to try to upset someone on the internet. It's just a very strange desire.
Yeah, I agree. No, my trolling lasted about a week. I first got on, and I think I was in the chat rooms on Roto Grinders, and I was making fun of Dan Bach and things like that. And then I realized, this is stupid. I can't do this anymore. It's like, you think it's a way to get in, and I think a lot of people think that. They think it's a way to get into the community.
Yeah,
that they can do.
And I think that's the challenge I was sort of alluding to earlier, is the fact that it is friendly banter, but if you don't know the person and you don't have any interaction history with them or anything like that, you just don't know what place it's coming from. And so there's a lot of times, and I've had people say this, yeah, I'll meet somebody at an event and they'll be like, yeah, I've tried to interact with you on Twitter and, you just don't respond. And it's like, well, I just don't know what everybody's intentions are. And I've seen the downside of people with really negative intentions in the industry. So that's one of the challenges. It is a tough way to kind of break through. That's why all the different live meetups, and whether it's stuff that Roto Grinders has done with their parties, or the live events that the sites have had, or boot camps, or whatever it is, all those things where you actually get to meet people face to face really can break the ice. And then I think it's easier to have a little bit more of a social media interaction with somebody.
Yeah, just to say to the listeners, I know the Tommy G method is popular, but there's only one Tommy G, and he's got that market right now. It's a way. It sounds like, oh, I just be rude, and it will work. It's like, He's got that market cornered. You don't try to go the same route. Try your own way. I mean, everybody else found a different way to get in. And sometimes it's because they're very smart. Sometimes, I mean, like Al's both of our buddies. He got in. He's very clever, and he uses social media very well. It worked for him. So it's the same idea. You know, you have to find your own way to get into the system, I guess. So
for sure.
If you do that. So let's move on. You went to Princeton. You played on the tennis team.
Dartmouth, not Princeton.
Oh, so I just insulted you greatly right now.
It's a very different college experience, Dartmouth and Princeton, I would say.
Well, how would you say it's different? How is Dartmouth different than the other Ivy League schools? How about that?
So Dartmouth's in the middle of nowhere. Like really nowhere. The closest city that we could go to if we wanted to like travel for a weekend was Montreal, was like 2.5 hours, and Boston was like 3 hours. Oh, wow. So it is in the middle of nowhere, and it's the campus itself. There's no city. It's just this town that's this college town. There's like 3 restaurants. Basically, all of the social life is in fraternities and sororities. It's just very isolated. It's really in the middle of nowhere. Whereas like you go to Princeton, and all of the Ivy campuses are really pretty. Princeton, you feel like you're in like some sort of medieval, like you're just surrounded by castles. It's just gorgeous. And it's a little bit closer.
Harry Potter's going to come out in that situation.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
Yeah,
and Dartmouth's really pretty too, but it's not like that. It doesn't look like a bunch of castles all around. So it's a little bit of a different experience.
When you played tennis, did you play against anybody of note that or was it pretty much Ivy League tennis, not bringing out the professionals at that point?
Ivy League tennis didn't bring out too many professionals. James Blake played at Harvard, but he was before me. I'm trying to think of. So I grew up in South Florida, and in Florida, you know, it's a tennis hotbed. So like I grew up playing against Andy Roddick and Marty Fish and those guys. They were like ranked number 1 in the state. I was ranked like 20 in the state. So they were considerably better than me. But that was kind of my group, like coming up. It was mostly Roddick and Fish from the US side. And Marty was a strange story, because he wasn't very good most of the time growing up, and then all of a sudden he got great. Like over one summer, he went from like okay, like guy that was kind of like me, like a pretty good player that was on pace to play in college, to over one summer it was like, oh, that guy's gonna go pro. It was totally crazy.
We're not suggesting anything there that suddenly he became this great
player.
No,
he was. I think what it was is he played basketball growing up, and I think he just gave up basketball and started to focus on tennis, and all of a sudden he got really, really good. But those were the guys that I competed with growing up.
And was there any time where you thought, oh, maybe I could play tennis for a living, and playing against somebody like Roddick might have woken you up to the idea you weren't going to do that?
Yeah, I played Andy once in all the tournaments, which is kind of crazy that I didn't play him more often, given he grew up in Boca and I was just south of Boca. But I only played him once, and like all these guys, even a lot of the guys that were top 5, top 10 in the state when you're growing up playing down here, you can tell that, you know, those guys, they'll probably be good college players, but they probably won't play pro. And then you played Andy, and it was like, oh, okay, that guy's whole life is about becoming a professional tennis player. It was very, very evident that he was going to be able to succeed and do so. So yeah, I never really had any dreams of playing professional tennis. I definitely had aspirations to maybe play at a more significant level than I did at Dartmouth. But I kind of realized, well, if I'm not going to turn pro, I might as well just try to get the best education I can out of this.
Yeah, you turned out okay on that choice. I think. Yeah. By the way, Miguel Cabrera, Miggy just hit his second home run tonight. So, and I didn't play him. So
yeah,
we go.
That's not good. That's not good for me either. I have no Miguel Cabrera exposure, so that's gonna hurt.
We'll digress. I will not do this again. There's just we hit a home run. I was like, damn it. Okay. But, I have the octagon on right now.
So do I. That was the other reason that I wanted to make sure that you couldn't see me, because it would just be me looking up at my TV the whole time.
Oh no, it's me looking the other way to the right of me right now. So, I wouldn't worry about that. I think everybody that's in DFS does that. I mean, that's why they gave me night sweats, because I could stare at the TV the entire time, watching Monday Night Football while that's going on. I think it works out. You and I have something in common, and I don't know if you know this, but another home run for Detroit. Wow. We both. There's a saying I use quite a bit. It's called "puns are your best entertainment value."
Yes.
Okay, and I know that in the community you're known for your puns. So, what is your fascination with puns?
I just love playing with words. I think it's really fun. I think it shows a high level of wit and intelligence to be able to play with words. And I think it's all of the stuff that I do is geared around entertainment. Like for me, this has turned into a profession. This has turned into my lifestyle and all that. But really, daily fantasy sports, the way that I see it for everybody is it should be something that's really fun. So I want to bring something that's entertaining to the table. I'm not the most boisterous, outgoing person, but I like playing with words, and I think it's fun. And I like to respond on Twitter and come up with, puns and plays on words and little snarky pokes at friends and colleagues and stuff like that. I think it's fun. I think it adds to the entertainment value while delivering some content.
I'm surprised you haven't been doing At Midnight, actually, because on Twitter that's pretty much all puns.
Oh, I don't know about this.
Okay, it's a Comedy Central show. They do a thing called Hashtag Wars, and pretty much, let's just say between 9 p.m. West Coast time and 10 p.m. Usually my Twitter is filled with me making puns of book titles and stuff like that. So,
I have to catch up on this then.
Yes, I think you need to check out At Midnight it's on Mondays through Thursdays. It's hit and miss, but it's probably right in your wheelhouse. You don't.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it's just they'll do a topic and then it's 8,000 puns on that topic.
Oh yeah, that's right up my alley. Okay. I will definitely be checking this out.
Okay, yeah, I just figured it would be because I've been shamed for overwhelming the Twitter posts with. I could go on a roll, let's just say, and do about 80% of those on a topic if I'm feeling it that day. So I just want you to know I'm not going to do any puns right now. I mean, they have to be natural. You can't just.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that's the other thing. We have like our Slack chat for Daily Roto, and some of the writers on there have, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting them in person yet. And so one of our writers on there, Colin Drewby on Twitter, he was joking the other week. He's like, I wonder if Drew is actually this entertaining and witty in person. I was like, no, that's the thing. I can only do this via this medium. And that's why I enjoy this medium so much, because this is really me at my best. It's me, in front of a computer screen with kind of my ability to quick wit and get something out, as opposed to me in a conversation among three people where I'll probably think it and then think, maybe I shouldn't say that. And I'm just unfiltered on Twitter. So this is like by far my best version of me in my own opinion.
Well, you seem to be doing fine right now. I don't see the problem here.
It's just a mild panic attack I'm dealing with right now.
I know being talked to by royalty does that to people.
It's very intimidating,
to say the least. To go back in your history, do you have the sock puppet? Was it ever given?
It was not. That is definitely the hardest I've ever laughed on air with doing any sort of thing. It was a DK TV episode that Al brought out sock puppets for each of the fellow co-hosts. He had Soccer Dave for David Kitchen. He had a Dink puppet instead of Dink Piece for me. And it was inspired, of course, by the commercials with Peter Puppet. And Al is very crafty. Apparently, he spends a lot of time with arts and crafts, and I laughed so hard that day. We were reminiscing about it a few days ago, last week, and I was like that. I was literally in tears, laughing so hard.
I think that Al's secret weapon is his wife is very handy.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, I'm not saying Al didn't do it himself. I have no history on this. I just saw it. I don't know, but I just would have to guess that he probably got the materials because his wife has all the stuff around the house, and
that would make sense.
He might have made it himself, but I mean, she's very good with a lot of things. To be honest, she's a planner and things like that.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So event planner. She hosts most of the boot camps, and I mean, he organizes. So shout out to Emmy right now if she ever hears this. So I guess I mean, unless you want to talk about the new Beyonce album.
No, so I missed this whole thing. I don't get HBO, but this weekend was a free weekend of HBO, and I saw everybody losing their minds on Twitter about this Lemonade thing, and I haven't seen it or connected to it, so I'm very intrigued. So I had to find a replay.
I know I haven't watched it either. I've been bad, so it's. So you don't have HBO, so you're not caught up in the Game of Thrones stuff and everything like that.
I did. I watched the first episode of season 6, and I did catch up on it using my parents' HBO to go. I caught up on Game of Thrones like last year. I hadn't been following it till then. So yeah, I am on with Game of Thrones.
I've been abused for this, but I'm still not watching Game of Thrones.
I think it's good, but I don't know. I think it's a little overrated. Like, I think it's good, but I don't think it's great. Like, there's a lot of shows, and I'm not a huge TV guy, but like this, it's a lot of different characters to follow. In my opinion, I think it's too many different characters to try to follow for like somebody who, like for me, like the show that I got the most into of all the shows was Lost. And Lost was like really simple and basic. Like, there were like 8 characters you really had to follow. There's like 30 characters you have to follow. So it's a little bit intimidating.
My office, I was working at Universal. We had Halloween, and our department did Game of Thrones, and I wasn't much of a Game of Thrones, but they gave me the character of Braun to be, who was like a sidekick, I think. Yeah. I wore a LeBron James jersey and a kilt, and everybody got pissed.
I remember that on Twitter. That was great. That was awesome. See, that's fun. Like, that's fun play on words. That's perfect.
I know. I'm telling you. You don't know how much I'm into puns. You just don't know. But to say the least. But trust me, once you watch at midnight, I'm afraid my Twitter is going to be bombarded. You're going to be like,
it's just going to be the two of us. Like
I know it's gonna be like famous books, but add a dog to it, and you're just gonna go, you're gonna go nuts on it. Trust me, it'll be fine. Maybe it'll start a sensation in DFS. You never know. But okay, well, I think we did good. I mean, we had good pace. It was fun. I didn't get bothered by seeing a black screen half the time. I'm real proud of myself. So,
well, thank you so much for having me on. This is fun. No, I love this format because I think it's so cool, and I think it's so cool to just learn different sides of people within DFS that you see or you interact with. And I love listening to the shows because of that. So I hat tip to you for what you're doing, because I think it's really cool, and I think it really focuses DFS about what it is, which is entertainment and engagement for so many people.
Well, that's exactly what we hope it to be. So, just so you know, just announcement to the people listening, next week we're having Dan Strafford on. We don't know what we're talking about. He's a fantasy insider. I think he's actually very, as you were, Drew, he's very afraid of what we're going to talk about. But as Drew, you can vouch, it's not that bad, right?
It's not that bad at all. It's not, I know. Especially if you like puns.
Yeah, so, Dan, don't worry. I hope you listen to this, and it's going to be okay. And you can find Drew over at dailyroto.com, and you can find me at Roto Grinders. Of course, I'm at Duckie Succumbs, and your Twitter handle is
just my name, at Drew Dinkmeyer.
Easy.
Yeah.
I didn't make mine my name because Hugh gets mispronounced all the time, and I just didn't even want to bother with it. So.
I think that's a better approach in the end.
Yeah. But most people can't pronounce Duckie Succumbs either, so It's you won't believe how many ways people have said that name. I think if when I first made a final, Dan did the show and he called me Duckie's Crumbs. If that was what it was, yeah. Those Duckie's Crumbs.
It's a great literacy test, and Dan failed.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, poor Dan. I love Dan. I got no issues with that. But, okay. Thank you, Drew, for coming on. And Grinders, we'll see you next week. Take care.